Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to chapter 340, 430. Thank you for coming to chapter 430 SME for our meeting event. We're having our first webinar, so bear with us as we're learning to use Zoom in this new environment to have people go to attend and see this. And we're also recording this for everyone as well, so we can post on our website and have a chance for people to watch it afterwards if you weren't able to make the event due to technology or just being busy. All right, I'm going to introduce a person I know quite well from Advance2000, Chris Frantz, and he's a local person I've worked with on several projects regarding cloud-based computing or technical systems. We're allowed to basically put servers, components, full, complete systems up in the cloud where you can access something as simple as your phone if you want to get that technical about it. But
there you go.
So I just wanted to mention that, and I guess I will go ahead and we'll get started, and I guess I'll move it passed on over to Chris.
All right, thanks, Chris. You want to say a little bit about TriMech at all? All right, well, Chris and I'm in Charleston. I'm going to turn off my video once we get started here. I'll go through the introductions, but I met Chris at a tech function here in Charleston, South Carolina, and TriMech is one of the largest reseller in the U.S. of SolidWorks products. And so we got talking, and he said, I really needed to be able to run, we've tried to run SolidWorks on the cloud before, and it didn't work so well. And I said, we do that all the time. We got some really big clients that are running it. So we kind of formed a partnership, and here we are. So let me get into, let me turn off my video and get into the presentation. So we're going to talk a little bit about our company's introductions, maybe go into a little bit more information on me.
Chris?
And then, yes, can you hear me?
We only see the PowerPoint slide decks. You want to be presenting mode?
Say it again?
We see the we don't see the PowerPoint slide. It's just the PowerPoint.
I thought I saw the PowerPoint. Yeah, without, you mean the presenter view?
The software, not in view mode.
Hold on. That's because I got two monitors here. Let me try this. Close that.
Okay, now it's in your mode where you see the one pre for it. So now it's in presenter mode.
Hold on. It gets squirrely when I have two monitors up. All right, how about that?
Now you got it. There we go.
All right. Yeah, when I turned off my video, it messed it up. All right, so we'll go into the introductions.
Let's see how it's just the two of us still. Let's redo the introductions for a better video later. Sorry for everyone, we're getting into it, but once again, my name is Chris Duchesne, and I'm having Chris Frantz here from Advance2000 presenting on cloud systems, as well as hosting this event for our members here. I'm the chairman of the Society of Manufacturing Engineers of Greater Charleston 430, and I guess we'll get started. So Chris, go ahead and begin.
Thanks, Chris. And just kind of wanted to talk about some of our cloud topics today. Thank you for all of you for coming. I'll talk about myself, my background, a little bit more detailed, and as well as the company Advance2000, and then I'll kind of talk about, what's this big deal about a private cloud? Everybody's been hearing about this stuff, and what does it have to do with engineering systems? And I'm going to talk about how do you kill many birds with one cloud? You've heard of killing birds with one stone? Well, I'm going to talk about killing many birds with one cloud, basically going through all the various benefits of the cloud and how it solves many different problems. Then I'll talk a little bit about the economics of a private cloud. Everybody says, hey, this sounds great, Chris, and how much does it cost? And I'll kind of get into that, and then talk about how to begin, and we can get into some questions and wrap up from there. And Chris, feel free to chime in anytime. So I am the regional president for Advance2000. I'm based here in Charleston, South Carolina, which is where I met Chris. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a strategy consultant. I've been in IT a long time, about 30 years. I've had just about every job in IT, CIO, network engineer, application developer, etc. Worked for some big companies. I've written some contributing author in a few books. BIM stands for Building Information Modeling. It's very much an engineering discipline. PLM, PDM, all that kind of stuff is very relevant. Contribute chapter, and I'm also speaking. I've spoken at the Dassault events, CATIA, COE, various SolidWorks events, Autodesk, and so forth. So while TriMech's a very large SolidWorks reseller, and we run their software on our cloud, the private cloud is really cloud agnostic, application agnostic, and we'll get into that. So a little bit about Advance2000. We are an IT company. We're not a cloud company, but we have a cloud. You know, we're not an on-premise only IT company, but we do support people on-premise in their office. We've been in business nearly 30 years. We've got about 180 people, probably in 8 offices around the country. We work with partners, companies such as TriMech, to bring solutions to market. We've got highly trained, certified engineers, and we're real heavy into infrastructure. So we'll run all of the, we own our own data centers. We own our own dark fiber. In fact, we're a competitive local exchange carrier in Western New York. And you can see here the quote from our CEO, Brian Moad. You know, we have a unique culture, drives trust, transparency, and teamwork. Our clients really get to know us well. It's not like going to Amazon or Microsoft where you're just a ticket. Our people know our names. Many of us go to our clients' weddings, you know, their kids and so forth. So that's who Advance2000. We serve many markets. AEC stands for Architecture, Engineering, and Construction. You see, we have manufacturing, professional services, education, wide variety of industries we serve. Private cloud computing is what we're talking about tonight. We also are real heavy into telephony, both on-premise and hosted telephony, as well as doing IT strategy and risk assessments. All right, so let's kind of get into this. Private cloud, what is the big deal? Now, I'm gonna kind of talk about this at a 50,000 foot level, you know, put you in the CEO or the CIO's chair, the Chief Information Officer, and not just down in the weeds, but what, you know, the cloud computing affects the entire organization. And I'll kind of go through some of those benefits. So imagine here on the left, this diagram, all your applications, all your project data, your models, whatever, are in one location, are in one data center, and everybody gets to it remotely through a remote desktop session. You know, we can run, you know, high-end CAD workstations, SolidWorks, Navisworks, you know, PLM systems, AutoCAD, you know, Inventor, you name it, we can run it. If it runs on your computers, it'll run on our computers. You know, this allows us to give faster IT delivery. You know, if I want to stand up an office of 10 people, I don't have to sit and order a server, wait for it to come in, build it, you know, buy them laptops. You know, we can just spin up the virtual applications, the virtual hardware in the data center, and we're off to the races. Our clients are getting more IT capabilities for less money. And there's just, you know, just to kind of give you a real simple example, I had a client that needed a new virtual desktop for new staff coming in. And no, it wasn't a new laptop. It was they needed to go from, increase the memory. They were getting a new application and needed to go from 16 gigs of RAM to 32. And called me up and said, Chris, I want you to know that it took your guys 2 hours to increase my memory from 16 to 32. He was just busting my chops. I go, well, you know, in order to do that before, you used to have to go out and, you know, your laptops couldn't hold 32 gigs of RAM. So you had to go out and buy a new one. You had to order it. It took a week to get it in at least. You had to rebuild it. You have to copy all your data. You'd be lucky to get that laptop in 2 weeks. And now you're complaining about getting it in 2 hours. And he was laughing. So that's what the cloud is doing, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a server, desktop, application. It's a lot easier to stand things up once they already exist, just clone them, than it is to go out and procure them and build them. That's what the cloud does. IT is 101 is centralize. CIOs, we always say centralize when you can, distribute when you have to. And with all your data, all your applications in one location, you can move around. You can get to it remotely. So this gives you the mobility of a tablet, the affordability of a Windows PC application, and the security of a mainframe, all in the data center. It's pretty cool what we're doing. So how do you kill many birds with one cloud? So There's 10 benefits here. I'm gonna touch on them all in different degrees. But every firm's different. They might say, oh, you know, I'm going to go over workstation and server, the computational power and growth. Number 2, real-time collaboration, you know, within your same firm as well as your supply chain. How does it improve your data growth and protection, your IT infrastructure consolidation? You know, real estate, office space consolidation is also affected. General purpose engineering, manufacturing, applications, full mobility, business continuity and security, lock VDIs, no ransomware, and process and simulation farm, and that's becoming more and more popular. Every client's not going to care about all 10 of these things, but you might lock on to 2 or 3 of them, and that's what I call the low-hanging fruit, and just go after that and say, I want to work on these, and then you can kind of build on it. So let's get into it. So this workstation computational power and growth. And I'm gonna try to go live here too, just to show you what it looks like. I haven't opened it up. I'm running on a local, my local computer is a MacBook, but it could be a tablet, it could be a Surface, it could be a thin client, you know, it doesn't have any operating system, or it can be a desktop PC. How many of us have had problems with their local computer? I can't run SolidWorks, I can't run CATIA, you know, Autodesk, whatever, it's chugging, I need more graphics power. It's not smooth, blah, blah, blah. The good news is a lot of these major vendors, Autodesk, Dassault, and so forth, they're all supporting their applications on a virtual desktop now. This is the way to go. It reduces your cycle time. I just mentioned the laptop, or the increasing your memory, the resources. When everything's virtualized in a central location, you can just add and change, delete resources as needed. Say you know, like I said, this person changed job roles and you didn't have time to buy them a new workstation. You can just, if they're on a cloud desktop, you just change their resources. I need more graphics card. I need more memory, more hard drive, whatever. We just change it on the fly. Another thing most people don't realize is their local PCs, their workstations, their laptops, you're lucky if those things are utilized 12% of the time out of a 24-hour day. You know, you're in meetings, you go to the shop floor, you go to the job site, whatever. You're not always in front of your computer, and all that hardware is sitting idle. Whereas if you're on a VDI, we drive the utilization of our VDIs at about 75%. So that means when you're not, you know, you're in a meeting not using the VDI hardware, somebody else could be using it, and we can kind of dynamically in real time keep it balanced so that, you know, people aren't getting overutilized and, you know, things start getting slow, but we can actually drive the utilization. You know what that does? When you have a higher utilization of the labor in your firm, you're more profitable. Higher utilization of your hardware requires less hardware. You know, VDIs cost approximately 50% less. You know, your mileage may vary depending on, you know, the type of workstations you're buying. And I'm going to see if I can demo live here. So I'm not sharing my whole screen there, Chris. Can you see that? I think I might have to, oops, not that. Sorry. I'm going to have to share this. Trying to get back to my share screen here. Here we go. New share. All right, you can see that now. That's my VMware client that comes up. I'm going to go into my demo account. And like I said, I'm running on a Mac. Put in my password. And it's basically launching a remote desktop connection. Give it a minute. See if the thing's been in maintenance. Oh, okay. I typed in the wrong password. Try this one more time. Yeah, they might be doing maintenance on it. Let me try. I'm just going to show you my VDI. So I've got multiple VDIs. The hardest thing to remember is which VDI you're on. So you basically can load a remote desktop. And I've just got a corporate admin sales type thing. You can see here, it comes up. I had my Zoom going on and so forth. But basically, you know, it's a Windows 10 desktop. So I'm on a Mac, but I have a Windows 10 desktop.
Chris,
And
we're not seeing your Windows 10 desktop.
okay. I'm going to try this. How about that?
There we go.
And so that's what it looks like. Basically, a Windows 10 desktop comes up. I'm going to bring up a web browser just to kind of show you. So this could be, you know, running on, I'm going to do a speed test. So I'm on a VDI that's actually running in Western New York near Buffalo, our data center. And I'm here in Charleston. And so you can see that it's gonna see what kind of, make this a little bit bigger. And this is what they give. They give the sales guys 100 meg. You know, some of our clients are running at 500, you know, and so forth. So you can actually have a very good experience and get as much bandwidth as you want with all your assets sitting in one location. Like I said, it could be an engineering application. It could be anything. All right, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. And that's basic. So whether you're in Charleston, whether you're in Boston, whether you're in Texas, California, whatever, you can all work like you're sitting in one office. Now, the real-time collaboration. So if you can actually work like this, you can see this, Chris? Everything's good?
Yep,
With all your data, with all your files, with all your databases, SolidWorks, whatever, in one location, you get to it, like I said, through tablets. You can have different disciplines getting to it. This is where you have a real-time collaboration, whether it's a central file server Dassault uses, or you know, whatever. PLM systems, you don't have to have it distributed to all your offices. You have it one location. I always say, bring the people to the data, not the data to the people. So that's the biggest thing with most IT companies. You won't put this rich, even, you know, so those of you that are familiar with the Dassault cloud or the SolidWorks cloud, they're still not putting their rich client on a virtual desktop. They make you download it to your local asset and run it kind of remotely. You're basically just saving into the thing. But with our cloud, you're running everything that you need. So if my laptop, MacBook were to get stolen, lost it craps out, all I got to do is get another one, quickly go to Best Buy, whatever. All my data, all my information is still intact. The workstation, like I said, is in the same location. The security to invite your supplier. So think about it, if my company, whether it's TriMech, Advance2000, if I've got different offices, people all over the U.S. working together, how hard would it be to invite my, you know, suppliers, you know, my consultants, you know, outside firms to collaborate on your data. And you can do it in a very secure way because you own the cloud, you maintain the control and ownership. We have a very large client that's designing theme parks in our cloud. And so they've got very many disciplines, different companies. Some people aren't allowed to see certain projects and vice versa. So you can, you know, an architect is allowed to change the architectural models. The engineer is allowed to change the engineers, but only read the architects. And you can kind of lock everything down and keep people out of things that they, one, shouldn't even see, or two, shouldn't be allowed to change. But yeah, you can all work together in a real-time collaboration. Data growth and protection. Many manufacturing apps are moving to a centralized database store, you know, whether it be Siemens or, you know, any of these guys. Images, simulations, point clouds, 4K video, it's all exploding our data. we got state-of-the-art storage technology in the data center in the cloud, one location. How many of you have multiple offices? And maybe the headquarters has all the assets, all the data capabilities, but the regional offices, they can't do their point clouds, they can't get this stuff, they can't get it backed up. The private cloud changes all that. You have everybody working on the same state-of-the-art storage from wherever you're at. Like I said, bring the people to the data. IT infrastructure consolidation. Many apps are going to the cloud, but not all the desktop apps. The private cloud changes that. I tell people, I said, if SolidWorks stops writing, PC-based application and CATIA and AutoCAD and Inventor, if they stop building on PCs and they're just doing all a web-based thing, then yeah, you probably don't need a virtual desktop. But until they do that, you do. If you want to be able to keep your application sitting right next to your data, allows you to centralize. So that's all private cloud is. It's a massive IT consolidation. So I tell CEOs, CIOs, it's basically this simple. 20 offices of IT cost more than one. So if you've got all these little, think about it. If you have just a terabyte of data, which is very low, and you have 5 offices, you have 5 terabytes sitting in each office, and then you have to have a backup. So you have now 2 terabytes in each office. And if it's the same data, you've got it replicated 5 times. So by putting it into one location, you got 1 terabyte with 1 backup, and everybody works off that. And it just kind of multiplies, whether you're talking about desktops, storage. It's just a massive consolidation. And I'll kind of get into the economics here on the coming slide. Office space consolidation. This was kind of one that people would poo-poo me when I told them this, 5 years ago. Oh yeah, I said, with all your stuff centralized, you won't need as much IT closets in your offices. You can, free up that space for people. You might even realize that you don't need as much space for people because more people are working remote. You don't need as many desk cubicles. And they go, yeah, but we still like to come together and collaborate and that kind of stuff. I go, well, yeah, you can still have that, but instead of having 20,000 square feet of office space, maybe you can get by with 10 and then let people kind of flex in and flex out. The big 5 consulting firms did this all the time. And I can tell you more of my clients have done this. One of them told me that they basically reduced their office space size and it paid for their cloud. So they're basically like getting a free cloud. and others, they had this, there was like 3 people and they had this office and it was a nice downtown office location. I go, it sounds like you guys, your clients never come to your office. You're always going to theirs. Why don't you just go work at home? And, finally we did, we moved them. They went home probably a year ago. And it's funny, I was just talking to them this week. They said, now with this whole Corona pandemic thing, we're so glad we did this. We're already set up to work at home. And so, I haven't really touched on that, but because you can get to this remotely, home is a remote location. You get to this just as easily during a pandemic. So general purpose applications, I mentioned the workstation applications, the SolidWorks, et cetera. Like I said, if it'll run on your computer, it'll run on our cloud, all your applications, not just the design and manufacturing, whether it's Rhino, your financial system, PLM, Office 365, or even, people say, I got custom built software, I got macros, well, can I run those? Yes. That's the whole thing about this private cloud. It lets you, not just buy a few services here and there, it lets you run your entire business in your cloud. We're actually deploying rather than building. And if we get a new custom application that we've never seen before, then of course we have to build it, just like you would have to build it. But Office 365, desktops, Exchange, all that, we actually have that. We know how to build it. It's already ready to go. Full mobility. I knew this was coming. And now with the pandemic, it's 100% true. For most firms, the 9-to-5 workday and the commuting in an hour and a half and back, it's kind of going by the wayside. Not saying it's dead. A lot of firms still work like that, but people are starting to work, when and where they want to work. They work from home. They work at the client office, the factory, the beach, wherever. And I had some principals say to me that, and actually staff said, well, we're going to be working all the time because we can do this. And it's like, no, you're not. You're actually going to be more productive. You still put in your 40 hours, but you don't have to spend, maybe 5-10 hours commuting all the time. And so, you see some of these stats. 79% of CIOs want their enterprise apps available to mobile users. Okay, good. Only 54% of the enterprise apps require, still require Windows desktop-based clients, as I mentioned. And only about 9% of them are truly optimized for mobile delivery. So you can say, like I said, until there's a true mobile version of all of these engineering applications, a VMware virtual desktop is the best way to do that. Business continuity and security. People say, well, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. And I said, well, you have your eggs in a basket now. Why don't you put them in a very secure basket? And our private cloud is audited. It's regularly penetration tested by independent security firms. Advance2000 was even part of a Department of Homeland Security grant a few years back, where the DHS and the FBI came in and they looked at our infrastructure, because they realized that, they said, usually it's not the Microsofts or the Bank of Americas that are getting hacked. It's their smaller supply chain that is connected electronically to them. So we were one of those companies that was the smaller supply chain for a lot of these companies. So they wanted to kind of give us some free security audits, and we welcomed that, and they gave us some good information. We offer encryption. It's not standard. Most of our clients do not require encryption at rest. Of course, your VDI is encrypted in transit. The tunnel between your desktop and the VDI is encrypted, but we can encrypt it if you have those security requirements. We have data center redundancy. We have IT staff redundancy. I can't tell you how many of our clients have maybe 1 or 2 IT people. And if they leave the company or they get sick or whatever, they're kind of hurting. They're screwed. With Advance2000, with 100 some IT people, and we all kind of back up each other. There's really no downtime if somebody were to leave or get sick. And this kind of security and business continuity is very costly to provide at all locations. So the solution, reduce your locations, and then you can build one really good secure basket and put your eggs in that. Locked VDIs, ransomware protection. Ransomware was just kind of the hottest thing, but there's so many hacks out there now, and most firms, I've seen a change over the last 5 years. They would let their employees have admin access to their desktops. Of course, that anything can get installed. They're starting to change that so that it's locked down. Well, you can maybe give them admin access to their local laptop, but you lock down their VDI, the virtual desktop, so that if they do get a virus, it doesn't spread to their work, their work environment. They can still work. We automate the antivirus updates. We have a rapid response to shut off if you do. If you are compromised, we detect it instantly and we shut off NICs in the cloud to prevent the spread. Like I said, we lock down your VDIs so that you can't change it. Backups are on a separate network. If you pay the ransom, you get the key and the permissions are restored. We've had some clients that we were supporting maybe some on-site stuff where they were still running stuff. They might buy like a phone system from us, but they were still running their network, and they got hacked with ransomware. They were not in our cloud, not on our antivirus, and they paid the ransom and got the money, got their data back. But guess what? There's no permissions on that data. So all your HR, all your salary data, it's wide open. If people started looking, they could find it. It's a huge productivity hit to the entire firm. So you want to be able to, like I said, centralize this, keep it very secure so that people can work and that you don't have these kind of issues. I don't know if you saw, there was a big architecture firm in the UK. I just saw the news report today, got hit with ransomware. Bad timing given this environment. And I think the last slide here is simulation or analysis, rendering, whatever you want to call it, shop floors, simulate. A lot of these simulation tools require a tremendous amount of horsepower, of capabilities. what a lot of our clients are doing is they've got all their business running in our private cloud. Well, they set up their own simulation farm in our data center. They have dedicated machines, and different simulations, depending on the software, require different hardware. Some are very graphics card intensive, and they want a lot of graphics cards. Others are, they could care less about the graphics cards, and they want just lots of little CPUs. And so we design it the way they want it, and they can get it back again. You know, in the past, the home office, the headquarters, was the only one that got to use the simulation farm, because the regional offices couldn't get to it. With the cloud, everybody can get to the resources no matter where they're at, because there's no need to move the data in and out, and your staff from everywhere can operate it. So you can see how all of those birds, if you will, are solved by a private cloud. So okay, great, Chris, this sounds great. What does this stuff cost? And so there's soft costs and hard costs. Some of our clients, and I'm talking to an engineering crowd, and you guys are just usually the hard costs. I don't care about the soft costs, but they're there. So what are the soft costs? You know, time to move data up and down, you know, from your data center, or, you know, you're at home and you're just moving data around. You don't really track that on a time card, but it takes time. Commuting from your office, especially after hours. You know, you might say, the boss might say, all right, you got to come and work in the office for 40 hours a week. But what happens if you got to work overtime, you know, off hours? You got to come make another trip in downtown LA, an hour and a half, and it's at 8 o'clock at night or on the weekends. No, you don't have to do that. You can just stay home and work on your cloud. Employee happiness and flexibility. How can you put a price tag on that? But I've had some staff tell me, they go, if my principals ever take our cloud away, I'm quitting, because I love the flexibility. They actually get more productivity out of them. And your coordination and design meetings, yes, there's still something to be said for face-to-face meetings, but, you know, more people are being open to video conferencing and being able to work in real time over a cloud on large data sets. It's cutting down the amount of travel that you have to do. So it's improving the travel budget and just people's time. The hard costs, and I would say 40%, you know, I'm looking at your overall IT spend. Obviously, the more of those benefits that you implement, the more you're going to save. But we've seen 40 to 60%. You know, if you look at your annual IT budget as of a CEO or a CIO, you know, moving to a centralized cloud, and a CEO goes, well, I can't believe you save that much money. If you've got multiple offices, that's what I tell them. I said 20 offices cost more than one. You're going to one office of IT, and you're letting people access it. Now, if you're a one-person office of 3 people, I've got a client that scales down to 3 people. They don't save any money. They actually ran the numbers and said, I'm spending about the same. I can afford it. I can spend the same amount of money that I did prior to having my stuff in my office and hiring a consultant, but for the same money, I get way more capabilities. Kind of that comment that I said, you get more IT for your buck. They actually said, well, if I were to duplicate everything I'm getting from the Advance2000 private cloud, like 24/7 support, you know, redundant desktop hardware, you know, if mine fails, you move me over to some that's already there and working. Same with servers. You know, their servers haven't gone down in 8 years in the cloud. And so your mileage will vary. You know, travel for your teams, as I mentioned, if you're doing more remote work, you don't have to travel as much. Hardware reduction, software costs usually stay the same. So SolidWorks is still going to charge you the same amount of money to run a SolidWorks license on a virtual desktop as on a physical desktop. So that's just the way it is. There are still some standalone softwares out there that they haven't gone to a subscription model. And if that's the case, clients will put up what they call a general purpose or utility desktop. Maybe they'll have 1 or 2 pieces of that software on a couple of VDIs that people can share. It's like you know, scheduling a conference room. It's like, okay, I got it on Tuesday, you got it on Wednesday, kind of thing. So that's how it looks. It's tremendous cost savings. And then how do you begin? Demo. Well, you know, you can try before you buy. You can say, all right, I want to try that SolidWorks, or I want to try AutoCAD. And we usually give out 2 demos so that you can actually test the collaboration between 2 people in, you know, different parts of the country. You can load up your data, load up your applications. Nobody's going to use these except you. We let you keep them for 2 weeks, play with them, just to kind of get the idea of how this works. A lot of people say, yeah, I've used remote desktops before and they really suck. They're too slow, they're laggy, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, we know how to do it. You got to make sure you have the right network, the right back end, and the right front end. And if you have all those things in play, it works really well. And you get to try it out. And so then I say here, then what do you do? Then what bird is your priority? Like I said, you don't go after all 10 at once. Pick 1 or 2, the things that your company really needs to work on, or that would really bring, value to the bottom line, and do it. Do a little proof of concept and build a private cloud and start doing it. And our clients have, kind of fallen into 3 categories that have moved to the cloud: project-based, phased or hybrid, and then what I call the big bang or all in. The project-based is just that, to say, hey, look, I'm not outsourcing anything. I got this project. I got to work with 5 different companies, and we need a way to bring, 20 people together to work on this large data set, this engineering drawings, whatever. They do that for X amount of time. A phased or hybrid, a business says, yeah, I want to take advantage of, 8 of these 10 benefits that you talked about, but I've already made an investment in IT. I've got this, or I've got a phone system, et cetera. So what we do is, let's say we do that strategic assessment that I talked about, and we look at and say, okay, what are you trying to do, and what's the best way to achieve that goal? Can we create a hybrid cloud, meaning part of it's still local, part of it's in our data center, and we create the phasing to say, all right, maybe we go this hybrid for 2 years, and when this equipment starts to age out and it needs to be replaced, then you migrate that to the cloud. So we kind of put this plan together. We let you leverage your existing investments. I don't expect you to throw out a $200,000 SAN. And we can, phase it by location or whatever makes sense in your business. And the last one is the big bang, all in. I've got a 50-person firm, a 100-person firm that says, this is great. I've got all old stuff. It's failing. How fast can you move me in? And I think our record is like 200 people we've moved over a weekend. And I'm sure we could probably do more of that. We just stage it all out, clone it all out, and people log in on Monday mornings working. And that kind of wraps it up. I talked about what's the big deal about this private cloud. I talked about the benefits of killing many birds with one cloud. Went over some of the economics and how to begin. Chris, group, are there any questions?
I don't see any. Checking to see if anybody a question. You can type in the chat if you want. Not seeing any questions coming in. So I guess basically what I'll do is I'll just reiterate that, like I said, like Chris was mentioning, that the cloud is very flexible, and it's basically a remote desktop, almost think of it as, but a lot more stable. You're able to it's dedicated hardware all the time, where very often, if you compare it to, let's say, these things we see on other virtual systems, they're virtual, not hardware focused, where the systems that Advance2000 does, they can configure the hardware to fit the application, not so much just an emulation. So it's a lot more stronger and more powerful when you're dealing with like any CAD or heavy computational systems. So when Chris says they use graphics intensive, they can actually put in better graphics card for your specific system and build it to fit, instead of it being just a virtualized system where they kind of give you an emulated video card, which does do the job, but doesn't give you that focused energy that sometimes, software CAD systems need, that dedicated hardware, right, faster. So let's just kind of reiterate what Chris talked about, and that's my experience has been, is that's the difference between using Chris using Advance2000 server system over, let's say, something on Amazon or Google, one of those virtualization systems, because they're more software-based virtualization, not dedicated hardware assigned to the virtualization.
Yeah, and I give you a lot of credit, Chris. Chris Duchesne, there's 2 Chris's here. You beat the hell out of our cloud running all your SolidWorks scenarios, and you did classes and little workshops, and you gave us a lot of valuable feedback. So
Yeah,
it does work.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to make sure that people know there is a difference, and that's definitely see it. So, all right, seeing how there is no other questions, and it's about quarter of. So I thank everyone for coming. We are planning another meeting next month. We're going to have one for meeting for next month is going to be for 3D printing, additive manufacturing, as well as how to work with a shortened supply chain or disrupted supply chain, and the flexibility that 3D printing gives you in order to do that. And you guys should see a post or invite for that coming up for next month. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you all again for coming.
Thank you.
And I will let you go. All right. So.